I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. I'm here in Singapore, and today I'm going to be speaking with somebody by the name of David Moskowitz. He is quite active in the Bitcoin and blockchain space, so I'm sure he'll have some insights to share with all of us. Now, a couple of the topics we'll be touching on may be a little bit over your head if you're new to Bitcoin, but I'll try and provide some links so that if you're curious, you can go ahead and further research these topics. Enjoy! I am here in Singapore with a gentleman who is deep into the blockchain space. I'm going to let him tell you guys his name and what he is up to. Go ahead.
So my name is David Moskowitz. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Attores. We allow you to securely share data and documents using smart contracts and blockchain technology.
I have a few questions for you. First, let's get into how you got started in the space. What first caught your eye, and where has it led you from there?
Okay, so initially I got involved with Bitcoin in 2013, became interested in it, started buying and selling it, trying to arbitrage a little bit here and there. Found it extremely difficult to do because volumes were so low. But I had already set up all these accounts and saw the need in Singapore for people who wanted to buy and sell Bitcoin. So I set up a brokerage. It was called Coin Republic. I built that business up over the course of about 2 years, and then I sold that in 2015 to another exchange. And then I started looking for another opportunity in the market. Met my co-founder Garang. Around that time, we started discussing opportunities using blockchain technology. So we started developing our current platform.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and so what's the name of the current platform that you're working on?
Attores.
Attores. Okay, and so you guys are doing smart contracts. Now, some people watching this might not understand what a smart contract is. Is there a simple way to explain it, or a kind of a summary of what a smart contract would be?
Yeah, so smart contract is essentially code that exists on the blockchain. So computer code, if-then functions, but also a little bit of data storage put onto the blockchain. In our case, we're using the Ethereum blockchain, but almost any blockchain that allows some sort of virtual machine to run code could be used for this. So in the financial industry space, we're working on a project with marine cargo insurance, which is one of the policies used when you're getting issued a letter of credit. And that's a whole complex thing that I can't get into. That has to do with companies who do trades with one another, let's say leather in India for cash in Singapore, and they need to get basically a banker's letter of credit so that they can import, because they don't quite trust each other to pay or to ship. So one of the documents needed by the bank in order for this to happen is a marine cargo policy, a marine cargo insurance policy. So what we do is we take the policy itself, take the variables, put it into a smart contract, and then that allows the assured to sign digitally on the blockchain, and then the counterparty, the bank counterparty, can then view that and trace the history back to the insurance company. So it creates a trail, an audit trail of what happened, and it creates provenance that the insurance company actually created this policy to start with.
Okay, and so how is this different from the way something like that would currently be done?
Typically in this sort of situation is very paper intensive. So first off, you're moving everyone to a digital format, and they're very quickly able to verify that this thing has happened at one point or another. So you can do that on the blockchain, and you don't necessarily need to trust Attores to do this because it's all on the blockchain, so then you can trace it back yourself if necessary. So that's really one of the advantages of blockchain in general, is it creates the trustless network storage in this case. But in this instance, it's not really a smart contract, it's just a contract that's being stored on the blockchain. The next generation after that will start to incorporate a lot more of these smart conditions. So you'll start to have sensor data being fed into the contracts. You could have, for example, let's say the policy requires that the temperature be between a certain range in the cargo container, and then you could have IoT devices feeding that information into the smart contract, which would then notify the proper parties that something has happened, the policy is no longer in force, or that the bank needs to, check its credit history or credit profile of the customer. So you can start programming stuff like that into it.
For instances like that, you would need something which is called an oracle, or other words, something that would collect information from outside sources. And so in that kind of a contract where the temperature of the cargo container needs to be this much. You have something monitoring that temperature, and if it's outside of that temperature, then it would trigger something in the contract, which makes it null and void. But something along those lines.
So we also have a prosumer version of the platform, which allows you to do just basic digital signing. So you can upload a PDF document, digitally sign it, then send it off to me to sign. And again, this is fully traceable on the blockchain itself. Again, we're using Ethereum for this, and the contract information is put into a smart contract.
Okay, all right. So that's immutable then.
So it creates a transaction record of signing, of documents, of everything like that. It's somewhat of a document management system, but built on top of blockchain.
So let's get into a little bit more of the Bitcoin side of things. So you first got into Bitcoin in 2013. Now, what were some of the qualities that you saw in Bitcoin that made it unique and interesting to you?
So I was somewhat primed for Bitcoin. I had been thinking about, is it possible to create an economic system based purely on math? Could there be a peer-to-peer system where value is exchanged? So when I read about Bitcoin, it was like, oh, okay, it all kind of comes together now. And this is also after the financial crisis as well. So, like a lot of people, I had become somewhat fed up by the way that things existed as they were, one-sided trades, of asymmetrical information, that whole game that gets played. So yeah, I was ready for it, and the more I used it, the more I liked it. Is what it came to. The speed at which you can do transactions. So I had money in the U.S. That I needed to move over here. I was able to do that very quickly and very efficiently using an account in the U.S. and pulling it out over here into the other account.
What are some of the advantages that you see over the system we currently are relying on? What does Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency accomplish that we can't with our current system?
I think in general the world needs some sort of peer-to-peer, censorship-resistant global currency or global transaction mechanism. So right there I think Bitcoin has a place. But as far as the advantages over what we have now, so for example in Singapore we have an excellent system of transfers. We have a very efficient system. As far as consumers go. For businesses, it's a little bit more expensive to do transactions, so it might actually find a role there. At some point, I'd pay like $5 to do a fast transfer, which is the same day transfer. So there's probably a need for something like that here to kind of cut those costs down. And in fact, I think that the MAS is pushing for blockchain technology to help solve some of these problems. Maybe not necessarily Bitcoin, but something related to it. So I think that it serves a very good purpose as far as censorship-resistant payments. It also serves a really good purpose when you need to make payments online and you trust the other person that you're paying to. That's very important because it is irrevocable or reversible. Once you send it, it's gone. So you better know who you're sending it to.
Absolutely.
And I had this problem when I was a broker where there were scammers who would take advantage of this and they would sell products that never got delivered. And the people would be out the Bitcoin. So you definitely need to know who you're sending Bitcoin to. And there's intermediaries to help with that as well, like BitPay and Coinbase and stuff like that, the payment processors who can kind of create some protection for you if you're not quite comfortable sending it directly to them. But the ability to send value from person to person directly is just fantastic. And it's not necessarily Bitcoin that is only the case of that. You talk about moving like company shares onto blockchains, bonds onto blockchains, even letters of credit and things like that onto blockchains. Then you can start to have value transfer from person to person, and that unlocks all sorts of opportunities.
What have you noticed the most as far as how the ecosystem has changed since 2013 when you've been in it?
So I would say in 2013 it was still somewhat an extreme fringe of libertarians, and I'm a libertarian as well, so I'm okay with saying it. But I would say it tended to be that, and towards the end of 2013, you started to have more institutional interest. In 2014, you started to have serious players look at it. Large banking institutions started looking at it, primarily for Bitcoin, because that was the dominant cryptocurrency at the time, as well as the dominant platform. And with that, payments was actually the big play. Since then, we've seen an evolution of the technology beyond Bitcoin itself. So Bitcoin is still fantastic for payments, direct P2P payments, but I did see a progression as far as technology into smart contracts and other areas. That's what got me interested in Ethereum. I haven't bought it. The only cryptocurrency I own currently is in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the only one that I really would be willing to have gone into was Ethereum, because I thought it was a major advance on the existing technology that Bitcoin provided.
Yeah.
It's not as good as for liquidity and for transfers as Bitcoin is, but it provides all those other functionalities due to the smart contract capability, the Turing completeness of it.
Okay. So I wanted to touch a little bit on current events in the Bitcoin space, and actually I guess the whole blockchain and cryptocurrency space in general. Ethereum just recently forked into two separate chains. And so what had happened, I'm not going to go deep into this, but for those of you that don't know about Ethereum, it's an alternative blockchain which you're using for your smart contracts. And what happened was somebody found a loophole in something called the DAO, and they were able to siphon off, how much money was it?
Like 50 million or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Tremendous amount of.
It was millions and millions of dollars. A lot of people lost money on this. In fact, a huge portion of the market cap for the entire currency was basically stolen from this one project. And so what they did is they essentially found a way to roll back the blockchain to a certain point in time to prevent that from happening, and changing the rules a little bit so that everybody would get to keep their money. And it was very divisive, because on one hand it was a huge percentage of the currency would have been in the hands of a thief. So now essentially we've got two Ethereums, one where that money has been restored, and the other, called Ethereum Classic, is where you have a camp of people that say the second we start rolling back the blockchain and making edits to it, you do away with the immutability. It gets rid of one of the principles of a blockchain.
I would say in principle I agree with this camp, but in practicality I have to go with the other one.
Okay, so I take it that you guys are currently still working on the main chain.
Yes.
The bigger chain.
Yeah, I think everyone who's developing projects are developing it for ETH, the main chain.
Okay, all right. So when you look at both of these camps, so you said ideally, ideologically.
Yeah, I wish they could have solved it without doing the fork.
Yeah.
It would have been, even if they had to destroy that amount of ether, would have been fine.
Yeah.
Rather than creating this precedent of being able to make a change to the account structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in this case, when you're looking at these two chains now that have sprung up, do you see it as there's room for both? And if so, what roles would each chain fulfill?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a community, you're free to decide whichever one you want to use. I think that's one of the principles of why we're involved with this is freedom of choice and the ability to make your decisions based on how you feel about the principles of it. So ETC to me is just a speculative coin at this point. It's an altcoin for speculation, whereas ETH is the main chain, is the Ethereum Foundation is where all the projects are being developed.
Yeah. Do you see in the future any organizations that may start using the alternative chain because they're worried about immutability? Is that a possibility, or do you think it'll just continue to be a speculative asset?
That's actually a good point. I suppose if the hash rate of ETC, and it was a little bit of a concern actually after the initial fork, that the hash rate of ETC could catch up with ETH, and if it could surpass ETH, then it would have more security than ETH. Then it could potentially be something that a large institution would be looking at as opposed to ETH. But as of right now, it's not there, and also the market cap is much smaller, so the mining incentive is much lower. So I don't think it'll ever catch up.
Okay. Now there is a project called Rootstock, and what that is it's working smart contracts into the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, if that works. Is that something that you guys are looking at?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're just a middleware provider. So we're providing a way for an institution or an individual to communicate with a blockchain at the end of the day. We're just providing that interface, and it's a really nice interface. If you want to check it out at attores.com, you can check it out.
Link somewhere here.
So you can use the interface to upload documents, create signing, do all that sort of stuff, and you don't have to worry about the blockchain that's being used. So we're just going to use the right blockchain for the right use case. In the instance of financial institution, it might be rootstock, for example. In the case of the public, it could be you can't use Bitcoin's blockchain because of some of the features of it aren't there, but the public version of Ethereum. And in another, maybe an insurance company requires a private instance of Ethereum for some reason within a consortium group. So we'll use that for that case. But we're just providing that middleware layer to connect to the two.
Awesome. All right, there's one other story I want to touch on, and this is just the past couple days here. There's a company called Accenture, and they've just dropped a patent on a blockchain that can be edited. One of the main things behind a blockchain is its immutability, or that's what it has been up until now. That's what has drawn a lot of interest. So I'm gonna read you just an excerpt of something from their release here. So it says, this is regarding their technology, not blockchains in general. So they say, the invention is designed for permissioned blockchain systems, which are managed by designated its administrators under agreed governance rules. The invention is not designed for permissionless systems like the cryptocurrency system supporting Bitcoin, which is open and decentralized, and where the absence of a single governing authority makes absolutely permanent or immutable record keeping vital. Regarding their prototype, they say, our blockchains are immutable to users of the system when necessary. Acting on agreed rules of governance can edit, rewrite, or remove blocks of information without breaking the chain. The invention also offers a capability where any edit made to a block leaves an immutable scar to indicate that the block was altered. So it sounds like this capability of the scar on the blockchain is an option. I could be wrong. So what are your thoughts on a blockchain that can be edited and is therefore not immutable?
It sounds like a database.
That's kind of what I thought.
It kind of, I mean, one of the main or key features of a blockchain is immutability. They could add a feature in that you append only, like on your bank account when there's a mistake. You write one entry and they see the mistake, and then they write a second entry after it, so that you always have this transaction history. That to me makes more sense than being able to rewrite the blockchain in some way.
And couldn't you just do that on a blockchain, right? Like
if you have more than 51% of the mining ability, which you would have in a permissioned blockchain, because you have 3 out of 4 people agreeing that this change needs to happen. You just write a new entry into it basically on top. So it doesn't really make sense to be able to go back and change history. But again, that's for permission chains. It's not public blockchain. So my thinking on permissioned blockchains in general is, they can do what they want with them. We can do what we want with them. If this is a requirement by financial industries within their consortium to do this, sure, go ahead and do it. It's not affecting the public blockchain, which is the peer-to-peer trustless, censorship-resistant payment network that we love. It's fine. Let them go ahead and do it.
Okay, so I just want to finish today with a few bits and pieces of advice for new users to the space. So I usually like to start off with, is there a particular wallet or wallets that you like to use for storing your Bitcoin, and what would they be, like the user-friendly ones that somebody can get started with?
I like BitGo quite a lot.
Okay.
The multi-signature wallet solution is quite good.
Secondly, is there a set of learning resources or anywhere that you think new users can go to get information, just to kind of start the learning process if they're very new?
We go bitcoin.org. There's
Okay.
always the classic resource for it. I think 99 Bitcoins is another good one. Khan Institute is really good if you want to learn kind of the technical, how it all works.
Khan Institute,
Khan
that's
Institute.
Khan.
Khan. It's
Okay.
quite good. That was one of the first ones that I looked at as well. It's still good.
Yeah.
And it's still funny to see like them talk about Bitcoin in single-digit prices.
Yeah, yeah. Lastly, if you can give a newbie in the space one piece of advice, what would it be?
That's a very good question. One is don't keep your Bitcoin on exchanges for extended periods. Second, make sure you secure your Bitcoin very well.
Okay.
Have backups for your important keys. Don't put anything onto a mobile wallet in large quantities, and certainly keep backups of it. So a lot of this has to do with security, I guess.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be speculating, don't speculate with more than you can afford to lose. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
taking
much.
the time. I had a blast. And everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you really like the show, I do accept Bitcoin donations, but if you can't do that, then please give this video a share to your timeline or to somebody that you think may benefit from the information. I'll see you guys next time on the BTC Sessions.